Hi, my name is Amber Reeder, and I'm a postdoctoral associate at Duke University within the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences, Division of Child and Family Health and Community Psychiatry. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share this work with you, an adapted virtual support partner model for non-specialist implementation of a community-based family strengthening program, the Coping Together program. So there's unprecedented stress and burden experienced by families during the COVID-19 pandemic. And despite the heightened risk for family conflict and mental health disorders, the rate of unmet need for support is only underscored by the absence of community-anchored programs for families. Within North Carolina, access to mental health services for both adult and pediatric populations ranks nationwide 44th and 45th. So there is a need for innovative approaches to meet the demand, especially where resources are already overstretched. Community health workers are a critical family and community resources and are frequently found filling the gaps when mental health resources aren't accessible or don't adequately fit the population. So although it's not the case in this study in terms of the community health workers training and experience, but more broadly across the United States and globally, community health workers often lack adequate support and resources and skill building opportunities, despite the recognition of their crucial role in providing mental health services, awareness, and just being trusted community-based members that can provide care to both children and families. Community health workers are the caretakers of our families and communities, and you'll often find them working multiple jobs or volunteering their time or taking on additional caregiving roles. They're educators, they're scholars, they're activists, they're communicators, they're parents and grandparents. And this study is about the nature of partnership and collaboration with community health workers. How do we adapt together a university program and a community organization when unprecedented pandemic happens and families are needing more support? How do we ensure that programs created for families are relevant and desired by the community? And how do we reduce the burden on community health workers who are so well situated within the community to promote and deliver prevention and intervention programs for families? They're trusted members of the community, but how do we balance that process burden of the authentic collaboration and development of a program and the reality of day-to-day life, especially during the pandemic? And how do we bring together a team of community health workers, community leaders, faculty, students, each member bringing unique skills and expertise to the table? And so today I'm delighted to be able to represent this incredible team and describe the process that the Coping Together program used to arrive at some of those answers. These answers are founded in a strong academic community partnership between here in Durham, the Puffer Lab at Duke Global Health Institute, and Together for Resilient Youth, or TRY, a community organization founded and directed by Dr. Wanda Boone. The purpose of this study is to describe the collaborative and responsive adaptation of the co-learning and facilitator training program, or the community health worker training program, in order to support an entirely community health worker or non-specialist provider facilitated family strengthening intervention virtually during the COVID-19 pandemic. So the program itself was adapted from a program in Eldoret, developed in Eldoret, Kenya, and using a reciprocal innovation model, the partnership worked together to adapt the program to fit the local setting here and the pandemic context. But before all of that started, caregivers and families across the southern United States were surveyed to assess family needs and gaps in services, and focus groups were conducted with community organizations, family serving and child serving organizations, and caregivers as well, in order to understand local needs better, but also to try and establish a community partnership with an interested organization. And That is where we met together, both the Puffer Lab and TRI. The team was formed, and we created a partnership, and we formed this partner program pilot model. And the 5 community health workers who later went on to pilot the program, the Coping Together program, were involved in the formative stages and collaborated in the preliminary steps of the program adaptation. The session structure, along with the program central concepts and activities, were formed here. And then between June and October, just last October, one by one, the facilitators delivered the program to families in the Durham community. And so now that I've described that background, the partnership, how that was formed, and how the program was adapted initially from an intervention developed by Dr. Puffer in collaboration with a team in Kenya, a low resource setting, to adapt it to North Carolina, a relatively low resource setting in terms of mental health services. First, I'd like to take a step backwards and describe a particularly challenging but rewarding part of the partnership process. And that is how the program was iteratively adapted during the actual delivery of the program using a co-learning approach between sessions and between facilitators. I'm going to see if I can zoom in here. Okay. So here we are. Prior to delivering the program with families, facilitators participated in a Coping Together training program that they themselves collaborated to develop. We used a novel support partner model whereby facilitators, the community health workers, were partnered with Duke graduate students and postdoc trainees. And the trainees became the support partners for the facilitators, not only to support the delivery of the program, but to learn alongside the facilitators how to adapt the program as it was being delivered, how to build group facilitation skills, how to learn principles of family therapy during the pandemic, how to cope with the stressors of the pandemic, how to learn Zoom and to promote a virtual delivery of a program, and how to adapt how we train to do this along the way. So I want to walk through one facilitator's experience. I'll walk through Mrs. Moore's experience. She was the first facilitator to deliver the program to families, and I was her support partner. And before each of the 8 sessions of the Coping Together program, Ms. Moore first viewed a demonstration of this session delivered by Dr. Puffer, a family and community psychologist. And then feedback was provided and implemented into the program. And then the support partner and the facilitator would meet together to role play, and the facilitator had the opportunity to practice delivering the session and then have a debriefing session about adaptations needed to the content or the language or the activities, for example, which were implemented before the facilitator would then go on to actually deliver session 1, Mrs. Moore, for example, with her families, with her family group over Zoom. And then Ms. Moore again would provide feedback on how that went, and met with the support partner once more to debrief and prepare for the next session. And all of this would happen iteratively, and each facilitator was partnered with a different support partner, and the content and the wisdom and everything that was learned from Mrs. Moore was then passed down to the second facilitator to administer the intervention, Mrs. Nancy, for example. And so all of this yielded a 8-session co-adapted Coping Together manualized family strengthening intervention. And I've summarized the adaptations as program adaptations and training adaptations. So first of all, during the pandemic, because of public safety, it was delivered virtually, and you could see one facilitator was on one of the Zoom screens. The material that the facilitator was presenting for the family intervention was on another Zoom screen, and then each family would join on their own as a family on their own screens, so they could be together, but also join together with the other families. As I mentioned, the content was adapted, as were the session structures, and as a result of all of the feedback, there was cultural and linguistic contextualization of the activities, and the role plays, the videos, and the session content. And the training adaptation, similarly, in Kenya, program training would have happened in person. So instead, it was a virtual training. We initially started with a synchronous training with all facilitators together, participating in a role play with Dr. Puffer, who was demonstrating a session as it would be with a family. But it was hard to get everyone together, and the pragmatics of that were difficult. And there was less time for detailed feedback from the facilitators. So we switched to an asynchronous model, as I mentioned, where facilitators would view the video kind of on their own and have time to digest and make suggestions for change, and watch on their own time and watch as many times as they wanted. And then also the implementation of the support partner model itself. And here you can see Mrs. Moore practicing with her support partner, me, and a graduate and undergraduate student for her first session before she delivered. Okay, moving on to the outcomes. So as you can see here, the Coping Together facilitators were able to facilitate 6 Coping Together family groups. That was 16 families, 48 family members served, and facilitators delivered 48 or more Coping Together family sessions. And we asked them to report on the experiences of families that they worked with in the groups. And it was clear that families were experiencing multiple types of stressors, economic hardship, difficulties with couples relationship and caregiving, especially, all the way to COVID-19 related stress in terms of disruption to family routines and activities and isolation, challenges with family communication and problem solving, and across the board, coping together with challenges as a family. So overall, the Coping Together the COVID-19 pandemic confers multiple complex family stressors on the family unit, but the Coping Together program was reported by facilitators to be a good program for families who were under serious stress like the COVID-19 pandemic. And they found that they were able to incorporate some of what they learned from the Coping Together program into their own life, seeing benefits with their own families and children and grandchildren. Additionally, families really connected with the facilitators and felt that their interactions were overwhelmingly positive, and they felt that what they learned from the Coping Together program would benefit them for a very long time. Some of the support partners or trainee reactions or reflections to participating in the program, I'd love to read just a few quotes here. I witnessed the facilitators' connection with the families in group, and this was a constant reminder to me of the importance of being kind and authentic and empathetic. It was a wonderful experience being her sidekick and witnessing her being a superhero. That was one of the graduate students. And another trainee, actually another postdoc said, this facilitator has been my mentor throughout the process, and I've learned a lot about the kind of dedication it takes to work with families in the community to gain and maintain their trust and navigate all of this during a pandemic. And I mean, co-learning is a bi-directional process, and I just love this quote from one of the facilitators. You never want to get to where you can't learn from someone young. And so I was just very humbled by my support partner's wisdom. So overall, we felt that co-learning and the support partner model really served to strengthen the partnership and the collaboration and the ability to effectively deliver this program during a pandemic. The facilitators felt that the program was a collaborative effort almost always or often. They felt like valuable members of the team, and they felt that their suggestions for the program were heard and implemented. And so in conclusion, the preliminary results highlight the importance of authentic collaboration in the formative phases of contextualizing community-based interventions. And moreover, equitable and sustainable collaboration necessitates an intentional approach to co-adaptation of the training and implementation support process in order to reduce the burden on community health workers who are working with families in our communities. Thank you. I'm so honored to be able to share some of the work today produced by this incredible team. You can see everyone credited at the top of this poster, our community partners, facilitators, the students and trainees and faculty included. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email is my first name dot last name amber.reeder, RIEDER @duke.edu. Take care.